There you go.
You have a different light, Yomi? There's two strokes of light. Strange. Oh, you have new light bulbs or something. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Okay. Hi, Ed.
So we're on
Hello.
Mem Bays, 42,
Mishnah.
Mishnah. Mafkid Motzetz Chavero. A person is going to China and he doesn't have a safe deposit box in the bank. He doesn't have a vault in his house. He thinks his neighbor is more secure. He doesn't want to leave his money in the home. Saran vivshin lachor. If the shomer puts the money in a garment and he throws it on his back, like he's carrying a sack. Or, for example, so that's not a very responsible way of watching the money. Somebody could walk up behind the person and take the money, the guy wouldn't even know it. Or he gave it to his minor sons or daughters. Vinol bifneim shelo karoi. And he doesn't lock the door properly. So minor children are not b'nei das. They're not capable of watching it. So obviously he was negligent. And therefore, if it was stolen, chayiv. If it was stolen, he's chayiv. Shloshim kederech hashomer, he didn't watch the way a shomer should watch. V'im shimer kederech hashomerim, potter. But if a shomer watched, we'll see what does that mean. If he watched it appropriately, he's going to be potter. Bishmakulu shloshim kederech hashomerim. I understand the cases where he didn't watch it properly, fine. Wrapping it in a garment and throwing it on his back. What's wrong with that? Even though you gather some money, you should keep it in your hand and not anywhere else. So if you put it behind you and you don't see it, it's not in your hand, it's considered that you didn't watch it properly. Rav Yitzchak. Rav Yitzchak said something else. As a good piece of advice, how to invest your money, how to preserve your money, or how to grow your money. What does he say? La'olam yashlish adam hayosav. You should divide your assets into three. Shlish bekarka, a third in real estate. Shlish beprakamatya. You should have a third of your money working in business. Mischar normally means buying low, selling high. You're in some business that manufactures something, whatever. It's a business that you buy and sell and you make a profit. Ushlish tachas yodo. A third should be in cash. means it's available to him at any time. Not bad financial advice, huh, Kenny?
Sounds okay to me.
Sounds pretty reasonable, right?
Mhm.
Today's might not differ. Okay. Bava Metziah Daf. Blessing accrues to things that are not visible, that are not open. That's the concept of ayin hara. Don't talk about something. Don't show something. Don't wear fancy clothes. Don't. If you show the bracha is going to be in something that's more hidden. Shenemar, Yitzav Hashem itcha et habracha b'asamecha. Asamecha normally means in your storage facilities, but we darshan asamecha samui min ha'ayin, something that's not visible. Similarly, Tanat v'Rabbi Shmuel, ein bracha mitzvah b'davar she'ein ayin sholetas bo. Bracha is going to fall onto something that the eye is not looking at. Shenamar Yitzav Hashem itchas habracha b'asamecha. A holich lamud is garden. Person has a silo full of grain, and he's going to measure how much is in there. Oimer, Yiratzon v'nech Hashem Elkeinu, shetishlach bracha b'masei yadeinu. First, he asks Hashem that there should be bracha in what our hands accomplished. We harvested. Hitchil lamud. He starts measuring. Oimer baruch hashalech bracha b'kriyah zeh. He blesses Hashem, who sent bracha in this pile. Moda, then you measure. V'achar kach birech. Now, if he measured it, only then made a bracha, arezu tefillah shav. He already knows how much is there. So we've just learned that bracha has to be on something you don't know. Now you know what it is, so don't. The bracha is a wasted bracha. Bracha is not something that's weighed. Not something that's measured. Not something that's counted. You don't know about it. It'll grow through bracha. Shenamar Yitzav Hashem itcha et habracha b'asamech. Omer Shmuel. Ksafim ein lahem shmira. Ela b'karka. You know what the best way of watching money? Burying it in the ground. And basically what Shmuel is saying, any other shmira is negligent shmira. And if it gets stolen, you're responsible, unless you buried it in the ground. However, Amar Rava, Umoyd Shmuel, Be'erev Shamash Ben Hashmoshes. Let's say your neighbor who's going to China came over 5 minutes before Shabbos to give you this money to watch. You don't have time to dig it a hole in the ground.
But isn't it dependent upon the level of shmira? Meaning a shomer chinam is patur on geneva vaveda. And here we're giving a blanket statement that, unless you bury it in the ground, you're chayav for geneva.
What we're learning so far is any kind of shomer, if you watched it carefully, you're not going to be responsible. Even a shomer sachar. That if you did proper shmira, you won't be responsible. You're only responsible if you were negligent in the shmira. And what Shmuel is saying, there is no.
But we know that a person is, on certain cases of shmira, a shomer sachar is chayav for geneva.
If he was posheya, if he was negligent in not watching it appropriately.
I thought he's chayav for all cases of geneva. That's what we're paying him for.
You're not. When it comes, this Mishnah said, if you didn't watch Kederach HaShoimrim, if you watched Kederach HaShoimrim, you'd be potter. Because the tchila was pshia. If it starts with negligence, then you're chayiv. But if some a shomer sacher is not chayiv b'oinsin, and if let's say you watched it and it's stolen to you by armed robbery, so you're not responsible. And now Shmuel is saying, you know what's called shmira ru'uya for money? Bury it. But if you don't have time, because the guy gave it to you 5 minutes before, the Lachachin Rabbanon, they didn't say you have to do that immediately. But, so you would be, if it was stolen, you wouldn't be chayiv. But if you let Motzei Shabbos go by, and there's a period of time that went by, and you didn't bury it, and then it was stolen, then you'd be chayiv. V'tzur Rabbanon. Now, if the guy went to China, was a Talmid Chacham. So Dilma Maboyle Zuzi Lavdalta. And the Shomer thinks, well, maybe he needs this money to buy wine for Avdallah. And that might be a reason why he didn't bury it right away. So he can wait a little bit and not bury it. And he would still not be chayv. Now there are ganovim that have ultrasound machines to see what's under the ground, or they go digging around in the karka as well. So ein shmira ela b'shmei koira. They used to put the money up in the attic by the beams of the roof. And that's, according to Shmuel, that would be a good shmir. However, va'idne deshchicha frumoy. Now there are ganovim that go up to the roof and they look there as well. So elam shmira ela bene orvi. You have to remove some of the bricks in your walls and stick the money there and put the bricks back. And that's the way to do Shmira. Amar Rav Umayda Shmuel, if he did hide it b'koisel, and that would be a good Shmira. Or Inami, ben akronos, in the corners of the house. But even that, vayidna deshchichi tupuchai. So today the ganovim go around and they bang on the wall and they hear hollow places and they can find hidden things in the wall. It's got to be in the wall, but within a tefach of the ground. There, by touching it, by tficha on the wall and listening to the reverberation, you can't tell whether something's there. Or within a tefach of the ceiling.
I guess we're dependent upon Ganavim not knowing this Gemara. No, seriously, meaning it's just telling people this is where you should hide your money. So, like,
it was
any Ganav who learns would know that's where everybody hides their money.
This was but apparently this was common knowledge. That's why the Gemara discussed it. It was not something hidden. It was common knowledge. Amar Rav Acha Bred Rav Yosef Rav Ashi. Hasam Tnan Imsech the Psachim. It was taught Chametz Shenafla Alav Mapoilos. A house collapsed and it fell on Chametz. So Kimavur. So it's as if you did beer Chametz. It's as if you burnt it. It'll be buried there and you have no access to it. And you're not going to be over by your Rabbi Motzei, and you don't have to worry about doing beer chametz, not chametz. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, no. It depends. If a dog cannot dig through the ruins and the rubble and find it, I agree. But if a dog can get to it, then the dog can unearth it, and therefore you'd have to do beer for that chametz. Bitana. Now, what is the shear that a dog cannot find it? Shlosha tvachim. Means if it's 3 tvachim deep, the dog cannot find it. So the question is, hachamai, regarding our discussion here about how well you have to hide this money, what's the dit? Mi ba'inan shlosha tvachim olo. When you either bury the money in the ground or you bury it in the wall, does it have to be 3 tvachim deep? Now, the chametz case and the dog, the reason why it has to be 3 tvachim deep, because dogs have very good smell. So be'inan shlosh tvachim, it's got to be that deep, otherwise the dog can smell it. What's happening to this money? You're hiding it from the eyes. You don't need 3 tvachim deep. Kama tefach. 1 tefach deep is enough, according to the Gemara. Person was going to China, and he left some money with his friend. The guy hid it in a cabin made of aravos, willow branches. And it was stolen. Regarding ganovim, it's a good shmira. But regarding a fire hazard, this is very flammable. So there was a pshia in that. There was a negligence. And what is that? So therefore what? So the ikr guarding it was already a little bit negligent. So even though there wasn't negligent regarding ganovim, it was negligent regarding fire. And it's a case of tchilasu b'pshia of the soife ba'oines. The fact that it was stolen was just an oines, but however, chayiv, because tchilasu b'pshia. The ikedi amri, other people learn pum fakir. Just the opposite. That afagavdaliyin nura pshiyosihi, even though regarding fireproofing it was negligent, leinin ganviniterusi, it was good. It was a good shmira against ganovim. And that mandomer holds tchilasu b'pshia v'soife ba'oinus potter. What's the final halacha hilchasa? Tchilasu b'pshia v'soife ba'oinus chayiv. So we're machmir. Hahu gavra da'afkid zuzi gabi chavri. Person left money with his friend. After a little bit of time, he told him, Havli zuzah, give me my money back. Amr lo yadana echos vino. I don't remember where I hid it. So is that a pshia? He hid it so well that he was doing his friend a favor to protect it. Maybe it's an oinus. Also, the kamei derava, Amr le kol lo yadana pshiyusahi zil shalim. He laid down the rule. Anytime someone says, I don't remember, that's negligent. And therefore he'd be chayiv to pay. And that's the halacha. If you hid it and you don't write it down or do some kind of remembrance of where you did, that's a posheya and you're chayiv to pay. And we hold that even if you were posher for something else, like for fireproofing, but you were okay by ganovim and it got stolen, you're chayav to pay. Hahu gavra The Avkid Zuzi Gabi Chavre, the person deposited money with his friend. Ashminali Ime, Vuzvina Bekartliva Veignev. The guy that had received the money gave it to his mother. And the mother put it in her jewelry chest. It got stolen from there. Amar Rava, Heichi Nedainu Dayoni Lahaidina. How should the judges rule on this case? Name Alaladi De Zil Shalim. If we tell the friend who originally was given the money, pay him, he could say, when you give something to watch to a person, the person who gives it understands that the person's wife and his children are also involved. So the fact that I gave it to my mother, it falls under that same category. Now, if we go tell the mother pay, so lo amarli delav didan inovak brinu. The mother can claim, listen, my son didn't tell me that this money wasn't his. And I know the rule is that you're supposed to bury it, but you bury money that doesn't belong to you. I thought this was my son's money. Name law. So if we go back to the friend who was given the money, and we say to him, how come you didn't tell your mother that it wasn't yours? Amar kol sheken d'chiyamina la dididinu tfei mizdarbebuhu. It's just the opposite. If I would have told her it's my money, she's going to watch it better. So by revealing that it's not my money, it might have been worse shmira. So basically, these are arguments to get both of them off from having to pay. So, El Amar Rava, Mishtaba, Iu Da'anu Zuzi Ashlaminu Le'imei. The man who gave the money to his mother takes a shvua. And also, Mishtaba Imei Da'anu Zuzi Utvina Bekartlita Ve'ignev. And the mother also takes a shvua that this money she put in a chest was stolen. Upotter. And that's the halacha. That's the psak halacha in Choshen Mishpat. Whenever we have Yisomim, minor heirs, Bezdin appoints an executor to help them manage their finances. The Zovan Luhutor Liyasmi Umasher Lebak. He, on behalf of the estate, bought an ox and gave it to the shepherd for oxes that takes the oxen out to the meadow. Now, turns out that this ox didn't have teeth and lips to eat properly, and therefore wasn't fed properly, and it died. How should the Dayanim judge this case? Do we tell the executor, listen, you have to pay, you caused the Yisomim damages? What do you mean? I gave it to the shepherd. He has to deal with it properly. So if we tell the shepherd, name Zil Shalim, he's going to turn around and tell us, Omar, Anabadi Tori Ukimisa, I deal with the oxen. I spread around food. I didn't know that, nobody told me that this animal can't eat. Now, Michti. Bakra Shomer Sachadi Yasmin. This shepherd is paid. He's a Shomer Sachar. It's his responsibility to check that the animal can eat, otherwise it's going to lead to a loss of the assignment. So the Gemara says, He would be required to pay if there was financial loss for the Yisod. But here, there is no loss. Why? Remember, the executor had bought an ox on behalf of the Yisod. So they went back to the original owner who sold them the ox. He paid them back. So there's no financial loss to the Yisod. They got their money back. But the shaila is, who do we knas? Or who do we claim owes something? Elman katoin mori de tor katoin. The Baal Ashor, who sold it, he's the one who wants to be paid back for the money you have to give the Yisomim. So he's going to the executor, for example, who bought the ox from him to get his money back. So the executor will say, you should have told us when you sold us this animal that he doesn't eat. So Maimon Ilale made a yada de mekachtosavi. So why do I have to inform you? It's a mekachtos. Like when you buy something that's not the right thing that you bought. So the safsre de zavin hachom is zavin lachom. This is like a middleman who buys from here and sells to there, and he doesn't know what the status of the ox is. Hilkach, ishtabu iu delavi yada. This guy was the middleman, takes a shvua. He didn't know there was anything wrong with the ox. Umishalim bakra, the shepherd who was in charge of the oxen, doesn't pay the full value of the ox. It's what meat would be sold in the market at the cheapest price, which is part of the value of the shore. Kshus is like watercress, some kind of vegetable.
Hops, it says here.
Hops, yeah, you use it for beer. Sorry. You use it to make beer. And he deposited a certain amount of hops with his friend to watch. The guy who received the hops to watch had his own hops. My Rami. He had a guy who was a beer maker who was working for him. Take hops from my basket when you make your beer. But Ozal Rama Me'ida, the beer maker that worked for him went and used the hops that his friend had deposited with him. How do we adjudicate this case? Name the person who received the hops to watch, should we tell him to pay? He can say, Omar, Ana Amri Le Mehai Rami. I told the beer maker to take the hops from this group and not from this group. I'm not responsible. Name says we tell the beer maker to go and pay. Omar, Larmali Mehai Rami Mehai Lotirmi. He told me, he told me to take from here, but he didn't say don't take from there. He thought he was giving me a good eitzah where to take, but not that it's prohibited. If he delayed a certain amount of time where the hops could have been brought to him and it wasn't, and that the owner was happy with that. For example, let's say the shoymer's hops were something very far, and the one that was given to deposit very close. And so therefore it was easier for him. So the shoymer himself might have known what was going on here. So we answer b'delosha. There wasn't a delay. It was not a big distance in time. It was both the same. Sof might say the Ika. Now, what loss is the Varka Mishtar Shalei? So the Shoimer should have to pay the value of the hops. I mean, he had his beer made, so he should pay the value of the hops to the guy who gave him the beer. And everything would be even. On Rav Sama, Breda Rava, Davishichra Chala. The beer turned into vinegar. So you can't get the money of the hops from selling the beer. So Ravashi Omar, Bikisi, there were thorns in the hops, and the beer therefore didn't ripen properly. Mekisi, and therefore he has to pay the value of bad hops in terms of what he profited from what he profited when he sold the beer. Okay.
Shkoyach, big Yesoidis in this Gemara.
Well, Choshen Mishpat.
Ernie.
But tomorrow.